The new-look Dallas Cowboys is exactly what the NFL feared. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Dallas Cowboys news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is the Dallas Cowboys are creating a new look with big potential changes to their roster. Like most around the NFL, you might find yourself decidedly unimpressed with the handling of the Cowboys offseason. Sure, the team beefed up in the NFL draft, adding talent on both sides of the line, but when it comes to excitement, you're not going to find much among the offensive linemen. The Cowboys lost playmakers Tony Pollard at running back and Michael Gallup at receiver, and have not done much to replace either. Ezekiel Elliot is back in place of Pollard. Replacing Gallup at this point is an entirely inside job. That's probably not good enough for a team that might well need to throw more given the steps backward it took in the running game. And while his inconsistency can be severely frustrating, there is a player still on the free agent market who has a good postseason resume and can be had on the cheap. Former Chiefs receiver Marquez Valdes-Scantling. That's the notion from Bleacher Report analyst Christopher Knox, who proposed Valdes-Scantling as one of the 3 remaining players the Cowboys should target in what's left of NFL free agency. MVS is a 6-year NFL veteran who went to Kansas City after spending the first 4 seasons of his career with the Packers. While he has struggled with drops, he remains a quality outside speedster who can stretch the field. In 2020, he led the NFL in yards per catch at 20.9. He also has 11 games of playoff experience under his belt, with 24 catches for 406 yards and 4 postseason touchdowns. He has 2 championship wins with the Chiefs and grabbed a 16-yard touchdown from Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 58. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is one of the more notable names left on the market, and his skill set would also fit with the Cowboys. The speedy, if sometimes inconsistent receiver can play on the perimeter or in the slot. He would also give Dallas another potent deep threat to help back off opposing defenses, Knox wrote. Valdes-Scantling had his fair share of ups and downs with the Pinoy over the past 2 years, but he came up big in the 2023 postseason. For a Cowboys team that hasn't advanced past the divisional round since 1995, Valdes-Scantling's Super Bowl experience could be quite valuable if Dallas can land him on a team-friendly deal. Team-friendly is the name of the game for the Cowboys these days, as they attempt to navigate an offseason in which they have to decide whether to give Dak Prescott an extension, and likely will have little choice, but to offer Lamb a payday of around double the $18 million he is slated to make in 2024. The Cowboys have made little progress on either front, according to recent reports. Talks with Prescott are, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, non-existent, and Lamb has shown no indication of reporting for camp without new deal. Lamb missed voluntary workouts last month. But there is still a determination more than with Prescott, perhaps, for the Cowboys to keep Lamb in place. And asked about it by TMZ in April, Lamb said, "Yeah, I'll be in Dallas." A proposed trade scenario would see the Dallas Cowboys part ways with one of their more experienced players. In a proposed trade from Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport, the Cowboys would trade wide receiver Brandon Cooks to the Pittsburgh Steelers in exchange for a 2025 third-round draft pick. In his story about wide receivers the Steelers should keep making calls on, Davenport wrote that the Cowboys could create salary cap space for CeeDee Lamb's upcoming contract by unloading Cooks' $8 million base salary for the 2024 season. Cooks is on the verge of completing the final year of a 2-year, $39.6 million contract extension he previously signed with the Houston Texans. And while Cooks was quiet in terms of yards and catches last year, he found the end zone 8 times and has 6 1,000-yard seasons on his NFL resume, Davenport wrote on May 3rd. Best of all, Cooks would be easily the least expensive wide receiver on this list. Not only is the 30-year-old Cooks extremely affordable, Davenport actually argues that Cooks may be the most realistic option of the 6 trade targets he mentions in his article. Along with Cooks, Davenport also mentions well-known receivers such as Deebo Samuel, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Brandon Ayuk, and Cortland Sutton. On some level, this may be the most realistic potential trade on this list after all. If anyone in the NFL knows what it's like to be traded, it's Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Brandon Cooks, writes Davenport. The 5'10" Cooks remains a productive receiver as he enters the 11th season of his career. He's coming off of an 8-touchdown campaign in his first season in Dallas, the second most receiving touchdowns he's caught in a single season in his career. The number of touchdowns ranked second among all Cowboys players, and he actually vastly outperformed ex-Dallas receiver Michael Gallup. The second story is Dallas Cowboys could make a massive trade that adds 2,300-yard RB alongside Ezekiel Elliot. The Dallas Cowboys likely are not done adding to the backfield even after signing veteran running back Ezekiel Elliott for the upcoming 2024 campaign. Elliott returns to Dallas and atop the Cowboys' depth chart on the heels of rushing for 642 yards and 3 touchdowns for the New England Patriots during the 2023 season, including starting the final 5 games. However, the Cowboys' backfield is still rather inexperienced and could use another big play threat to spell Elliott and complement his running style as a between-the-tackles bruiser. According to Ari Meirov of the 33rd team, the Miami Dolphins could make running back Jeff Wilson Jr. available either via trade or by releasing the 28-year-old ahead of the season. The Miami Dolphins drafted Tennessee RB Jalen Wright in the 4th round, Meirov points out. Adding him to the mix with Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert. Miami, which is tight against the cap, would clear $1.2 million if it moved on from Jeff Wilson Jr. Through his first 7 seasons with the San Francisco 49ers and Dolphins, Wilson has rushed for 2,313 yards with 18 touchdowns, while proving himself an accomplished pass catcher out of the backfield, hauling in 71 receptions for 566 yards and 5 more scores. The combination of the Dolphins loading up on speedy running backs alongside quarterback Tua Tagovailoa in the backfield and the opportunity to free up cap space could make Miami eager to move on from Wilson Jr. Likewise, Pro Football Focus points out that 5 of Wilson's 41 rushing attempts in 2023 were explosive runs of 10 yards or more. Adding Wilson's speed and competence as a receiving option out of the backfield would create a formidable and versatile backfield duo for the Cowboys. Given what the Dolphins have invested at running back and potentially looking to move on from Wilson, perhaps a late-round selection in the 2025 NFL Draft would be all it will take for the Cowboys to pry Wilson away. The Dolphins previously traded away their 6th-round pick in 2025 to acquire Chase Claypool from the Chicago Bears. So this proposed deal with the Cowboys would replenish some of their draft capital next spring. The third story is Dallas Cowboys claim they didn't have money to land Pro Bowl playmaker. In a way, Cowboys executive VP Stephen Jones, who also happens to be the son of owner Jerry Jones, is right when he says that the Cowboys could not do much of anything in free agency this offseason because of the elephants in the room contract extensions needed for star players, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. But on Monday, he blamed the team's inability, or unwillingness, to sign star running back Derrik Henry on those players' contracts, and that's more technically true than it is realistically true. Yes, the Cowboys have big, fat salary numbers on the books for Prescott and Lamb, and yes, the Cowboys have just $2.7 million in effective cap space. Henry, who earned his 4th Pro Bowl selection in 2023, signed with Baltimore for $16 million over 2 years. With the Cowboys' current cap situation, he was never going to fit in Dallas. But the thing is, if the Cowboys had worked out an extension with Prescott and Lamb, for that matter, they could have reduced the cap hit for 2024 on those contracts and carved out cap space. Enough for a star running back like, say, Derrik Henry. Instead, the Cowboys have chosen to play some weird all-in hardball with Prescott, perhaps paving the way for him to hit free agency in 2025. But let's give Stephen Jones the floor, as he was asked specifically about Henry. Well, first of all, nothing but respect for Derrik Henry. I mean, he's one of the top backs in this league. Our situation is just, and no one ever wants to say it, but it's salary cap. And we just didn't have the money to allocate to that position in terms of where we were from a cap standpoint, knowing what we're looking at with Dak, and certainly Micah and CeeDee Lamb. We just didn't have those type of resources to allocate to that position, or we probably would have already had it filled with Tony Pollard. We hated to lose Tony Pollard. We had to lose Zeke the year before from a cap standpoint. And we just didn't have the dollars to allocate to the running back position. And certainly looking to do it in a more efficient way in terms of how it complements the rest of our offensive roster. Arizona Cardinals RB James Conner just turned 29 and is on the final year of his contract in the desert. There's been some speculation on Conner's future after 2024, which was helped when the Cardinals drafted Florida State running back Trey Benson on day 2 of the NFL draft.